Charles Leclerc is flying through. Look up for Verstappen and Antonelli. Could let Leclerc through Verstappen. Nearly losing it. He has lost it. He's spun around and is losing places as he gets swallowed up by the rest of the pack. And it's all going off on this first lap. That is Isaac Agile into the wall. And that's another car. Pierre Gasly, full safety car, has been deployed. Nothing slowing down Lando Norris, who goes around the outside of Charles Leclerc and into the lead of the Miami Grand Prix. Norris now from Leclerc and Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli up into second place from Charles Leclerc. They responded straight away, McLaren, but Antonelli put in a decent outlap, and it was quick enough to get that track position ahead of the man who was leading the race. Antonelli leads from Norris, from Verstappen. Can he go to the end on these hard tyres? Will he have the pace as Charles Leclerc gets about a car length ahead and just slams the door shut in the face of the Dutchman? Here comes Oscar Piastri on Charles Leclerc.
But he's still got to complete this lap.
Oh, and Charles Leclerc has spun around! Our race leader making his way down the back straight. He's going to finish it in spectacular style, though. Once, twice, 3 times a Grand Prix winner. Kimi Antonelli wins the Miami Grand Prix. Lando Norris takes second place.
How did we know we just should have won?
Piastri crosses the line to complete the podium.
Yeah! What a race, man!
Well, Formula One was back in a big way in Miami. Kimi Antonelli, a rising star. Hello and welcome to Motor Racing 360, brought to you by Repco. I'm Jess Yates alongside Paul Murray.
Hello, Rockstar.
A big hello and welcome to our regulars, Supercars legend Mark Scaife and journalist James Phelps. Gentlemen, can you believe we have a naming rights sponsor?
Oh, welcome aboard.
Welcome to Repco.
Welcome to Repco. Thank you for joining us. It's about what gets you going, and that'll be the focus of 360 each and every Wednesday night.
Do we actually have enough time to go through every single thing that gets you going?
Oh, we need the hour and a whole lot more, Jess, and a whole lot more.
It's great to have Repco on board. We're looking forward to ripping straight into a big show tonight, of course, starting with the Miami Grand Prix. We threw out the question last week, could this be a complete reset for McLaren? The resounding answer is yes. A double podium for Lando Norris, for Oscar Piastri. Great to see them back there fighting at the front. Mark, were you expecting them to be as strong as they were?
Well, we were sort of predicting that they were going to bounce back with all the upgrades, a whole new car, new arrangement in terms of the Mercedes-Benz customer engine package. So a lot of the things probably did pan out. The one that panned out differently for me was Norris was dominant over the weekend. Yep. I thought that the performance with Oscar at Suzuka was superb. He drove really, really well. But it did look like Lando just had the measure of Oscar over the weekend. But the overall package from McLaren, absolutely a step up.
It's almost like they favour one side of the garage in McLaren. I mean, what a disgraceful suggestion. There's no proof of this whatsoever. I did just get that wonderful thrill, particularly in the sprint race and sprint qualifying as well, for Oscar. That sense of not necessarily being back, but certainly compared to where they were, but just that jolt was good to see.
Well, considering that for the opening round of the year, he didn't even make it onto the grid. Now he's back on the podium. It's really, really great signs for McLaren, because you only have to think this is the momentum they're looking for to actually really try and bridge that gap even further to Mercedes. I think there's so many encouraging signs in that regard.
But also, like McLaren, whether it was on their way to dominance, or wherever they are now, they are the upgrade kings, right? Their capacity to be able to improve on their own situation in a season. I mean, everyone had that scenario of the 4 or 5 weeks. What is it, Scafey, about the way that maybe that team works, the way they engineer things, that means they are able to find something that Ferrari, theoretically was in a place to do so, but then drops the ball?
Well, I think they went away and they've worked on the things they knew they had to make better, which is obviously one of the things was straight away their relationship with Mercedes and what the engine power unit looked like. The second thing was all the aero changes. I mean, we said before last weekend that it was almost a whole new car. So a lot of the CFD work they did, wind tunnel work, bits and pieces, there's a huge amount of change. And I thought at the end, when you watch it on track, the car's got a different look in terms of the dynamic. The mechanical grip on the weekend in those slower corners was really evident.
So it was 0.35 seconds a lap quicker than it was in Melbourne in comparison to everything else. So they've really cut the gap down. It's about 0.2 seconds a lap in race trim now to Mercedes. So it's right there. But be warned, guess what Mercedes have got coming online next round?
Yeah, that's
their
right.
upgrade.
Yeah.
So they were behind the 8 ball because they won the championship last year and they didn't look into it like they should. But yeah, expect that gap to widen back out to where it was at the start of the year.
I think we're going to see some more upgrades for McLaren too when we get to Canada. But we had teased, you know, the anticipation around this incredible rivalry that we saw at the back end of last year between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. I think genuinely on the weekend we can say that is going to be back on the table for this year. And this is what Sky Sports commentator David Croft had to say about Lando and that rivalry with Oscar. He feels like the Brits got the upper hand at this point.
Look, the McLaren upgrade worked. There's more to come for Canada. Needs to be, because Mercedes have got their next big upgrade package. Where I'd be a bit worried is Oscar's pace to Lando wasn't necessarily what I would have expected. It's not like he doesn't enjoy Miami. It's not like he hasn't gone well there. You know, he's won there in the past. And I know Lando has too, but Lando had a comfortable margin on his teammate throughout the weekend. Oscar can ill afford many weekends like that during the course of a season where he's played second fiddle to his teammate.
So how does this boil out between these two from here on in? I liked what I saw from both of them. I mean, Lando was really frustrated at the end of that race. He felt like they were on for the win. Had they made a bit of a different strategy call? Coulda, woulda, shoulda, who knows? But in terms of this competition between these two blokes, how does Oscar respond when we get to Canada?
Crofty, UK based, do you think?
Yeah, Brit giving another Brit a play. I know.
Yeah, no,
Imagine
I would have thought. It just seemed a bit like this, didn't it?
By the way,
He
love, if he's
obviously
not silly-
conveniently forgot Suzuka,
Yeah,
where he
correct.
got hosed. Lando got hosed. So,
like-
I mean, you're only as good as your last result, so that's all fine. I think the bit that Lando could absolutely have some grievance around was what you said, Jess. The undercut that Antonelli put on him and the Mercedes team out-strategised them. If they don't do that, they probably win the race.
Yep.
So could you say in that instance, knowing that McLaren are well versed in going out there and winning and doing it all the time, they've been so focused on car performance and trying to make sure that they're on top of this engine package that they get to a race meeting, they're unsure about, you know, they can forecast all they like about what this is going to look like in race trim. We're seeing it play out. They've been so focused on the other stuff that they've actually sort of missed the mark in terms of being in the moment in the race and getting that right. Do you think now that they feel like they're on the right track, that's actually the area that they need to work on? Is that what sort of saw them come undone in that respect?
I think, look, it's just like a football game in lots of ways. There are really pivotal moments in races, and that was a pivotal moment in the race. Yeah. The undercut was really profound. The pit stop wasn't quite good enough for Lando either. So that little combination of errors put Antonelli in the lead, and that was really the end of the race. If it was the other way around, Lando would have won. So, I mean, that's a strategy call that's always hard, and you can be a genius in hindsight with those ones. I mean, it could be a lot worse. You could be at Ferrari. Yeah. They snatch defeat from the jaws of victory each weekend.
Well, what about them? God
Well,
love
who's
them.
in front? Look, we've got to look at it. Is it Lando or Oscar? And look, it's only 8 points. And if you look at what's happened so far this year, it's very even. He had 2 DNFs, and I think Oscar is leading a lot. And his race pace wasn't great on the weekend, but he'll hit back.
At what point do you think, though, they need to make a decision? Because it can only be a number one driver if they're going to be in title contention and try and chase down Mercedes. What was it, round
15 last year
where they had to make a
team
call.
orders came into effect.
We don't have
officially.
As many, yeah, right. We don't have as many races this season. So, like, what is the tipping point for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just got to press on for a little while and read the play. I mean, there's no other way for a little while. You just got to see where this goes. You come out of the back with the upgrades you just spoke of with Mercedes. You'll get a much better feel after Montreal as to what style of car you've got. You always got to find a way to basically make the appraisal over a different package on different racetracks. So Montreal will be massively different to what we just saw at Miami.
All right, coming into the weekend, it was all about the new regulation tweaks and whether or not they were going to deliver what it was we were hoping for. An invigorated qualifying, mitigating some safety issues around closing speeds, getting rid of this yo-yo racing and, you know, the fake overtaking, if you like. Were we satisfied? Did it deliver what we were looking for? You're already shaking your head.
If this was about trying to stop the yo-yo racing, fair dinkum, okay. They compressed the yo-yo that used to go over 6 laps and they pushed it into 2, and there was enough yo-yos that Toys R Us would have been jealous, right, about how much. Because I found ironically, I found the start of the race strangely quite artificial about this idea that everyone was moving around. There was obviously the Max stuff that we'll get to in a couple of minutes' time. But then a couple of laps later, Kimi out front, that's it for the rest of the race. Means that for the highlights reel, and again, I don't think it's being necessarily concocted for this, but there's always something out of one of these races that matches the highlights reel, right? That eventually pumps the coverage, pumps the socials, all the rest of it. But if you're actually watching 50 plus laps, those highlight reels drop away relatively quickly for me. Again, I'm a hardcore. Anyone watching this show is a hardcore. We're there from practice to qualifying to all day, every day. But for the so-called casual fan, I think there's going to be a little bit of a difference between what is represented on socials, which is how good's this, how good's this, how good's this, with Kimi started at the front, Kimi ended at the front.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at some of the passes, there were so many passes and repasses that this yo-yo thing is really weird. And I thought the commentary from Oscar and Lando afterwards, especially in the cool-down room, and the way that they spoke about the closing speeds, I mean, basically, Oscar said, you can't defend in these cars.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know how far they come back. At one stage, George Russell was like a second behind him and ended up rounding him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, really weird.
Yeah, well, this is what the McLaren drivers had to say about the regulation tweaks.
The races are basically exactly the same, and I think, you know, today was my first proper experience of overtaking people and having to defend and stuff like that, and it's pretty crazy, to be honest. You know, at one point, George, I could see in my dash, George was 1 second behind me and managed to overtake me by the end of that straight. And it's just a bit random. All the closing speeds are huge. From that side of things, not much has really changed.
It's a small step in the right direction, but it's not to the level that Formula One should still be at. You just have to get rid of the battery. So hopefully a few years that's the case.
Finally.
That'll be easy, won't it, Pam?
Hallelujah.
Just get rid of the battery?
Oh, correct. It's fine. Well, in Lando's case, he's already got rid of 2 of them, 2 of the 3, so he's more than happy in that scenario. But look, again, I get this feeling, we were talking about it a bit earlier before the show, right? There are the people who grew up or had the best moments of their racing career in the previous versions of the cars. They find the transition particularly difficult. Somebody who is younger in their career, and obviously Oscar's not 28 years in, Lando's not 28 years in, you're seeing Kimi being able to adapt to a new car nice and fast. Again, we saw that with Gen 3 in Supercars, but perhaps what will save everything is when they get to V8 in 2031.
You know, the body language that I read from all of that is they're really defeated on it. There's actually nothing else they can say about it. They've made their point that this is not what we want. Get rid of the battery. It's not working. We cannot build a future on this model. However, we're in it right now.
Yep.
I can't see how they're going to make any further regulation tweaks. For me, it didn't go all the way it needed to deliver what it was we were looking for.
It was better.
It was better, but it couldn't be worse.
It wasn't the tech rigs that made it better. It was the fact that our team was more competitive. Again, it's bringing Mercedes back, and it's the racing. I don't really care about this stuff aside from the safety issue. It's the competitiveness.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, so I just think, what is the way forward from here? I think this is how it's going to be for this year. And I sort of got that feeling from the comments that everybody was making off the back of the weekend that they're just, this is how it's going to be in 2026. We've got to race the way it is and get on with it. This is what the lead caller had to say about the regulation tweaks.
Did we go away from Miami thinking the racing was awful? No. Did we go away from Miami thinking we were treated to a massively exciting Grand Prix? Yes. Was it because of the tweaks? Some of it not. There's still that yo-yo racing element to what we're seeing in 2026, but that's tactical as well. And the FIA president talking, from 2030 about sustainable fuels and a V8 engine with minimal electric power. Why not? I think these rumblings are taking place to win a PR battle in a certain way, to at least assure the fans that who may not like what we've got currently that it won't always be that way.
But don't you worry, there's nothing to see here. There's no problem.
Yeah, I mean, what a turnaround for a week, right? We're talking about the Kool-Aid, the Jedi mind trick. Well, they've found a mirror and they're doing it back on themselves, right? Slowly, you're casting their own spell because, again, They've made these changes, no problems, everything's up, social media engagement, blah, blah, blah. Now, the carrot, for those who don't like what's here, is we're going back to V8s. V8s are on their way. I also do find it a wonderful way to celebrate going net zero by 2030 for F1, is how to celebrate? Get back in a V8.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But in terms
I
of...
love it.
Yeah, well, but
Bring it
it's
on.
this thing, I'd love that to be where they end up, but it feels like perhaps the internal... I'm not going to say there's some sort of tension inside the sport.
Politics?
Yeah, correct.
Yes, dare we say it?
But trying to work out, because again, you've got the boss of the category versus the boss of motorsport, and one's trying to say nothing to see here, one's going, yeah, I'm noticing lifers are a little twitchy about all of this. Yep. So I think they're trying to put a Band-Aid on. But let's be honest, if the plan is to go anywhere near this by 2030, well, they would have already started the process, Mark, wouldn't they? Not have just launched the brand new, because it took, how long to get to where we are now?
Well, yeah, like late 2020 they started on these, and they basically early to mid 2021 those regs for now were set.
Yeah.
So basically talking 5 years.
Yeah.
So tell me why does it take 5 years?
Well, it's architecture. So the engine changes. If you just went tomorrow for everyone to have a V8, then there's a huge amount of cost and a huge amount of work to do to have everyone out with a V8 by 2030 or 2031. The reality around this I find funny, because to your point, we've heard from the Supremo of F1 saying nothing to see here, it's all fine, and then we go, the FIA have come out and gone, no, we're listening, we're listening, we know we have to make it better. And I mean, for Lando just to say at the end there, get rid of the batteries, I mean, hallelujah.
For them to already have that story out there tells you that they know they're in damage control at this point.
No doubt.
And they're not going to be able to keep everybody happy unless they come up with another plan. I would think we will have a more definitive answer on this by the time we get to the summer break.
Summer break.
Yeah, but also I think to what we were saying before about Mercedes, particularly with their upgrade in Canada, other teams with the next phase of this happening in Canada, I think that part of the noise goes away when there's genuine contention for the title, right? So obviously we're only a few in. The assumption is that, you know, Kimi, obviously by winning more, it's there. The qualifying performance is that he's always sort of at the front. There's that feeling of a season, and look, whether you love the driver, the team, or whatever, when it's your guy or girl, you love when they're dominant. Yep. When not, you start to go, oh, this is boring. Well, that's fine, but I think that some of the noise will disappear if there is a tighter race for the championship. But with Kimi, blasting out by, the best part of 100 now?
Yeah, there won't be. He's so far in front, and as I said, Mercedes are going to get that upgrade. So we're going to see them
James,
spring back forward.
I believe in Oscar. I'm not giving up just yet. It's too early
but the teammate battles are just as intriguing, and I mean, that's why I'm watching it. I'm watching Oscar and Lando go at it, and the other one is watching George and Kimi go at it.
Well, he's got his measure at the moment. I thought Kimi was fantastic in Miami. It really feels like he's going to another level. When you think about those comments that Toto made when he was in Australia about the mistakes that he made, and he was keeping it all together, to the performances that we're getting out of this young guy, it feels like the breath of fresh air that Formula One needed.
Correct, but don't you love sort of just like, you know, Papa Toto is in there again. He was back in that mode, but also George Russell, and we've got to get to this, right, which is he's saying, you know, obviously after Australia, at the start of it, that sense of this was going to be me. I'm going to be the dominant one. This is my year. That's all slipped away, and he's kind of talking himself into, I'm still in the game. And Toto, well, listen.
He's saying George is a fighter?
Yeah, he's a fighter.
George looks defeated already. No, he's not talking himself to still being in the game. You can see it in his body language. He's done, and you got to feel for the guy a little bit. He thought it was going to be his year, and he's come in. He's got a second-year guy in whooping his butt. Let's say frank now, and we've got the team boss, your favourite, Toto. Looks like he favours him a bit. What do you think?
Oh, look, you know, one's a fighter, one is a bull, but they're both fantastic. In fact, let's hear from Papa Toto.
George is a killer, okay? And what makes him so good is that he never stops fighting.
Still got the confidence in myself, and I've also been there. I've not forgotten how to drive, and it's just a little bit of a tricky run, but with 4 races down, a long way to go. And I think, as I said, we'll reassess things over these next few weeks.
He might be a fighter, but perhaps take the hand off the hip and take off the pink hat if you really want to get into the fight, George. Look a little more muscly. Fire up a bit, buddy. Like, honestly, like, I get it, he's saying it, he's in there, but that's a bloke who does look within himself like the battle is tough.
He's been towed up by this young upstart who's come in and rewritten the history books.
Well,
Beautiful
think about the
Kimmy.
history, right? So drivers to have their first 3 pole positions come consecutive race meetings. Ayrton Senna, 1985, Michael Schumacher, 1994, and Kimi Antonelli, 2026. I mean, that's a pretty starry lineup.
Yeah, yeah. Well, also, I mean, again, is that the comparisons, and I go back to this point about, you know, new cars, younger drivers or earlier in the top form racing career, right? Again, back with Gen 3, you saw this generational shift to a whole bunch of drivers who ended up getting into championship frame and then winning championships in those new things. Again, Kimi last year, work out where the furniture is, you know, what's turn 9 at Las Vegas? And then once all of that's through the system, plus all of, obviously, the technical stuff around him, when you're young at anything or it's your first little while at something, right, as I like to prove on this program every week, which is you don't know what's the sacred cow. Right, so you don't care about what are the established rules about how you're supposed to do this. He's, you know, young bloke full of swagger with a great bit of kit underneath him.
He hasn't got a preconceived idea. So the thing that Lando said straight away, we went from the best cars to the worst cars. So his attitude immediately is down the road of not liking these things. And as soon as you like that, and we've heard from everybody, all the superstars, that you can't quite get the last piece out of them. Obviously, Kimi is getting the last piece out of it, and he's doing a really good job.
Scafey, how do you do this as a kid, coming into a team with an experienced driver and being a number 2? I mean, do you have to get some sort of special deal or favouritism? I mean, how does it happen, or is it all talent? So he just gone in there and blasted this guy around in 2 rounds?
Look, to be honest, I think it's all talent. I think he's a very, very gifted young man. There's no doubt about it. But I actually thought that George was going to come back last weekend. I was surprised by the Miami result because I thought George. Yeah, well, I did. I thought he would have rebounded. So it would be disappointing if you're in his shoes. But that kid, we just read out that list of the consecutive winners. He's a superstar.
Now, Ripco is all about what gets you going, and what got Mark Scaife going out of this race? Well, Verstappen,
I didn't know where you were going with that for a minute.
Saving his backside. What about this, mate?
This was unbelievable. So when you think about the lineup on the way into the corner, he ran a bit wide. Leclerc did a great job to get around the outside of him, and then when he spins, so he's hard in the throttle. We'll break this down. So when he actually does, in the end, have a heap of throttle on it, he made contact just slightly, and watch this. As he goes over to the curb, he's then out of control. Now, when he was out of control, a little bit like Feeney at turn 1, turn 2 at Melbourne this year, he'd come back out of the throttle, so he was completely sideways. Watch this. He lights the throttle up, then he gets out of it, keeps the steering lock on. The great thing about that was, and the whole art of this is, once the car's spinning, you've still got the lock on that fans the front round and immediately just drives straight off. I mean, there's a fair bit of luck in it, right? There's a fair bit of luck, but he's got form. He has done this on many occasions. At Melbourne, check this one out. This was a spin at turn 1, turns it around, gasses it up, keeps the lock on, straightens it up. We're on board, flick it up, straighten the wheel, done. I mean, that is unbelievable. So I said, it was a bit lucky, but he's got away with it now. That's another example of being able to do it. Now, he does. This one is at Hungary. Even his team are going, how did that happen, right? And now this is Brazil at Interlagos coming onto the straight, in the rain, gathers it up, keeps it off the fence. Wow. So
how do you not hit the fence there?
That sort of car control and his way of understanding, it's so dexterous. He's got such unbelievable feel for the car. I mean, no one in the field does that with that level of regularity. It's unbelievable.
But also, remember when we were talking about Supercars race back in Melbourne, right? Yeah. About getting turned around, right? Here's the deal, right? Now, again, can I race a car? No way, right? But unless you're Max Verstappen, should anyone be trying that as a way to save your own backside? So to anyone watching us in the field right now who ends up in that, was your advice, give it a max or don't do it?
Well, the first bit is he does it to make the car rotate.
Yep.
So when he knows that he's lost control, the car's going to spin, he gasses it to make it rotate more, and then he leaves the lock on to fan the front round. So there's a real technique in it. It's not luck. Like, it's a little bit lucky to get away with it because there's other cars around him, right? Totally. But his presence of mind is just extraordinary. That opening lap sequence there, that's unbelievable. There's cars going either side. That's one of the best bits of driving you'll see all year.
that got Scafey going.
Yeah, fair enough. I like it. What got me going too was that Red Bull were back in the fight.
Yes.
He was
Yep.
much improved. He looked a lot happier, which was really good news. And I think it's fair to say they've jumped up the pecking order. What that actually looks like at the moment is fairly interesting. I don't think Ferrari is anywhere near where they were at the beginning of the season. So there's some work to do from them in Canada. If you'd like to see that full interview with the voice of Formula One, David Croft, you can check it out on KO. But let's jump into some news now for Supercars. We heard from Erebus boss Barry Ryan on Motor Racing 360 a couple of weeks ago saying that there are no A-grade drivers representing Chevrolet in Supercars at the moment. I think it's fair to say that that's ruffled a couple of feathers, particularly our Chev drivers, the front man of which at the moment you'd have to say is Anton De Pasquale. What's been his response, James, to Barry's comments? I can't imagine that he liked them too much.
Well, certainly Anton was ruffled up by it. He's come back and he's come out swinging, and he's pointed out that he's won a race, and he said they're very much in contention. And look, there's no doubt that the package that they came with last race was a little bit better. They improved. But I still don't think they're anywhere near the four guys, to be honest. And to say they're title contenders, it's probably not another thing. But yeah, certainly he's got to back himself up. And yeah, he's an A-grade driver. He's got a B-grade car at the moment. That's the bottom line.
Well, and that's my thing, which is that I liked that he backed himself. Look, full declaration, right? I love Baz. I'm an Erebus man. I'm a huge fan of that team. That's my one in the garage. But I think that the obvious problems for Chevy are there for any and all to see, right? So Barry's right. But if you don't back yourself to be able to come out and say, no, you know what? No, I am A-grade. I'll tell you why. Because look what happened in Sydney. I'll tell you why. Because, leading performance of all of the Chevy drivers, right? How much stink you put on it is your own personal taste. But Scafey, that scenario when, as a driver, it's all about self-confidence, which means it's up for others to decide what grade they want to give you. Your grade that you should always give yourself is do better.
Well, I would put Anton in the A-grade bundle. I think he absolutely is one of those. And he's driving the car really well. So I would stick him in the A-grade bundle. I'm not disputing where he is. I'm worried about where they're finishing. Because if I posed the question to the panel and said, if Triple Eight was still racing Chevrolets, would they still be winning? My answer would be yes.
Probably.
Right? Yeah. So when you apply that, you can't have 19 poles and 14 wins last year. It's not that long ago. So when you've got a dominant team with a couple of guys trying to beat each other week in, week out, they showed last year that the Chevrolet could win and win regularly. Now, why aren't they winning regularly right now? There's got to be a reason, and it comes from driver, team, parity, lots of things.
So do you call that sporting parity? Is that what we're talking about?
No, I don't. Technical parity is, I live in technical parity. Sporting parity is complete, it's Formula One's fallacy, right? There is no way that that's right. But what you've got to do in the end is you've got to have the best package and you've got to put all those things together. And at the moment, it doesn't look like Chevrolet are.
Now, let's cut through it. Who's building the cars now and who was building them last year? I mean, I think that's the one we've got to hit the nail on the head, isn't it?
Well, but also as we've discussed all the way through the year, which was about, and this is where I think about, Team 18, right? And obviously we had Adrian on a couple of weeks ago, which was that their task being the lead Chevy team is a process that happened relatively quickly.
They'll
right?
get there. They'll get there.
So a conversation about where they are next year, okay, fine, fair enough, right? But part of the Chevy problem seems to have been that, obviously, that there was the institutional knowledge that was there in Triple Eight, then the change, and either a failure to have someone to come up and behind it, or that process happening too late for us to see something.
And everyone's looking for a reason and looking for things to blame. And part of that is Davey Reynolds is copying it again. There's rumours now that he might be without a drive for this year, that he'd be replaced. And I made some calls on that. It's not true. But, these rumours are starting, things are swirling because this is going on.
Well, I guess that's an obvious comparison to make, isn't it? When Anton is taking a pole position and is winning a race, and you look at Dave's performance and it hasn't been able to match that of Anton. How does that team move forward if they don't have two competitive drivers? And that's something that needs to be probably addressed.
I think they're both
in the now.
competitive, but what
But
does
Dave
this...
hasn't been competitive this year. He hasn't been in the fight at all. Whether that's been as a consequence of getting mixed up in other people's stuff. Dave is talented. Dave is a race winner. We know that. That has been there to see on track. But it hasn't worked in terms of that dynamic between those two being able to push that team forward and find more pace and performance in this car. So that's a real problem for Team 18 in the here and now.
Oh, absolutely. But why is the chat always, at this stage, about Dave? Obviously, I understand the contract window, all the rest of it, right? But there are drivers beneath him in the ladder, and there are teams that are underperforming in 18. So why is the constant conversation about?
He's a former star that's not winning races.
He's a Bathurst
it's as simple as that.
But he's still a bloke
big name in the sport.
But when he turns up to that track in Tassie, regardless of how he did last round or last year, you know what the lines are going to be for the merch, for the photo, for the high five. He's a highly identifiable guy.
Absolutely
and none of us are. No one's bagging.
It doesn't matter how A grade they are at the moment. The best they can do is 6th or 5th, which 5th is the best result, aside from that win in Sydney.
I reckon Dave will go well in Tasmania. I really do.
Yeah, good.
And he's
Why do you
very
say
good.
that?
Well, he's really good under brakes, and it's a real braking circuit, right? So the big stop at the end of the main straight, the big stop at the hairpin, he's very good with his car control on the way to the corner. I think he'll rebound. But to me, that's the biggest question, right? So, yes, Team 18 haven't produced the results that Triple Eight you would have foreseen. Yep. But the second part of it is, why hasn't Dave been there? Because he's absolutely talented enough to be there, right? He's one of the best drivers in the field. At his best, he is one of the best in the field. So you've got to get him there.
Yeah, well, it's going to be one of the big questions that we ask heading into Tasmania in a couple of weeks' time. All the teams have had some time now to regroup and find a way forward. Has Team 18 been able to come up with something to close that gap with the leading 4 teams? We'll find out soon. All right, it is time for a quick break here on Motor Racing 360. Coming up, all the latest on Matt Payne's future at Penrite Racing. And later, Tickford Racing's Cameron Waters joins us. Stick around. Welcome back to Motor Racing 360. Matt Payne signalled his intentions last round in New Zealand, back winning races and looking in great form. Now, we had a story a little earlier this season circulating that he had asked for a release from his contract at Penrite Racing, where he's contracted to be with them until the end of 2027. And we knew that Chevrolet Racing were chasing his signature. James Phelps, you've got an update on this story for us.
Yeah, it was a little story in Australia. Now it's gone transatlantic. I actually thought that this story was over and buried last week. We actually reported that he could even stay at Grove Racing. Well, apparently that's ruffled a few feathers, and behind the scenes a lot's been going on, and Chev have hit back and they've got an offer for him to go racing in NASCAR in some sort of role. I don't know whether it's going the Shane Van Gisbergen path eventually and going full time, but I think it'd be more like some cameos and some racing, and apparently that really appeals to him. So it's a case of watch this space. But the question I had to ask was, don't Ford go NASCAR racing too? And had some chats with some Ford people today, and they're not going to take this lying down. So, yeah, very well could see them come in and support Grove and try and keep him, because he's considered that good that he's worth fighting over. And would you agree, Mark, that Ford would want to keep him, and these guys have got to do everything they can to keep him happy and keep him in the stable?
Oh, he's a superstar, no doubt. Yeah, I think some of his drives this year have been as good as I've ever seen him put on. So, yeah, he's a benchmark operator. And I like it when the car companies get involved like this. It's actually pretty cool. If you're Matt Payne or his manager, you'd be rubbing your hands together at the moment.
Well, I don't know if I would be if I was Matt Payne, because he's got a lot of pressure on him. Remember, he's only a kid. He's in a situation right now where he's kicking butt. He's in potential maybe to go for a championship. He's got all this stuff going on in the background. And remember, this contract isn't, until 28 we're talking. He's tied up next year. And for me, it brings the question, do we need an anti-tampering deadline as they do in rugby league?
Hang on. What happens to all your stories? Yeah, well, the stories are about who's up, who's down, who's here, who's there.
Next year. We're talking about the year after that. I mean,
do you reckon a rule would make a difference?
No.
Well, I just wonder.
Well, currently a contract is a legal document that doesn't seem to make a difference.
It has in rugby league, but the thing is, in rugby league, there's 200 odd players. In this sport, we've only got a number of drivers, and someone like Matty Payne, this is going to keep on going on. It's not going to go away unless he comes out and puts it to bed And at the moment he won't, because his manager's in his ear going, money, 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 let's take this all the way.
Isn't that the question? I think at this point in Matt Payne's career, he is a champion in the making. He will absolutely be in the championship fight this year. Penrite Racing have risen to another level this season. You can see that in the personnel they have inside the garage. They've got two really fast drivers. At this point in Matt Payne's career, should he be concerned about the money? Should he be chasing money? Should he be looking to put himself in a team where he can actually establish himself as a race winner week in, week out, a Bathurst champion, which we've seen him do, a championship winner? Is that what needs to be at the forefront of his mind? Because speaking to Ryan Wood in New Zealand, I posed the same question. Did Chev come after you? Have they made you an offer? And they said, yeah, they have, but we're not interested in chasing money in this point. Ryan is in the infancy of his career. He needs to be established in a team, get some runs under his belt. Do you think for Matt, I mean, obviously he's probably achieved a little bit more than Ryan has in the couple of years that he's been in the championship, and the Groves have put all their support behind him in making sure that he had those opportunities. Is he at that point where he needs to be chasing the money, do you think?
I've always had a theory that if you win the races, the money looks after itself, and I reckon that's probably the go for him. So focus real hard. You've got a really good opportunity to win this year. Focus all your attention on coming out of the back of what was a great win at Bathurst last year. If you come out and won the championship this year, then you write your own ticket. You will write your own deal, and they'll be chasing you really hard. That's what I'd be
in his
doing.
defence, I don't think Matty is chasing money. I think that's coming from elsewhere. I think what he's chasing, and that's why this NASCAR thing could be so appealing, is opportunity. He's a racer. He loves racing, and the lure of going overseas and doing some really cool things is what appeals to him, not the cash.
Well, and that's the point worth talking about how certainly the example of Van Gisbergen. I mean, international racing has always been the cherry on top for an Australian driver, right? A Kiwi driver, about what's next. But as the focus has moved from the dream being Formula One, the chance to be racing in America and NASCAR now, the lure of it is bigger and better than ever. So again, not specific here to Matt, but you would have seen plenty of drivers who is their career defined by winning a championship, which shows the performance across the year, and then a finals right now, or is it winning the singular iconic race that means, just like being a Melbourne Cup winner, it doesn't matter, it's not known outside. Again, is it like the money where squeeze everything you can out of the category you're currently in before you start looking to the other one, because the grass is always greener somewhere else, and that grass could be the US, it could be anywhere in the world.
I think it's real horses for courses, Paul. So throughout my time in touring car racing in this country, I never contemplated doing NASCAR. Yeah. Didn't even think of it.
Turn left,
I did think about doing the DTM a few times. I was offered to drive an Opel over there, and I did some World Cup stuff and Monza and other things. But I never thought the NASCAR thing was the right route. Jim Richards did a bit of it. Dick Johnson did some of it. Marcus Ambrose did a lot of it. Shane Van Gisbergen has now committed himself to it, right? So there's been all these different paths for so many of our superstar drivers over the years, but it is a real personal thing. It's do I like that style of racing, and what would I do to get there? That's what it is.
And there's been enough other blokes that have gone to do it that tells you there is a pathway for supercars drivers to go and have a taste of it if they want to. That seat at Penrite Racing is a plum seat. I think you ask anyone up and down the lane, that's a coveted spot to have. Matt Payne's not even thinking about leaving that team unless they're dangling something he can't get from there. Correct. I think it's a really big check. The money has to be enticing for him. Potentially it's some other opportunities doing other racing. I don't think that has to be the thing, though, that gets that deal across the line.
I think you as a manager, the focus on the check. I like this, the focus.
Matt's talented enough that he could go and get those drives in any category around the world if he wanted to.
Well, he can now, and that's where Ford have come in. They're going to have that conversation, and that might be a game changer as far as this deal is concerned. And look, for the Groves, I know they're playing a little bit of hardball, but wouldn't the simple answer be, give him an upgrade? You've already got him for next year. Give him a little upgrade if he extends. Right. Make him happy and go forward. So... Yeah,
it's like the way they run the country. It's always easy with somebody else's money. All right, now, Kyle Busch perhaps would be a great draw card and an example of what might be there for future drivers in NASCAR, because you're able to go nuts on the radio like this in Texas. Have a listen to Kyle Busch, and apologies for the F-bomb. Sorry, not sorry.
Stupid that makes him a God damn it, dude.
All right, let's woosah here for a second, all right? We haven't run in the top 10 in like 3 years. We're having a great day here today. Keep it together. I know it's not perfect. Just keep it together, and we're going talking about, let's keep it in one piece. That ruined our day. Okay? So other people's. I'm fine. All right? Put a bag of ice in your crotch. Let's go.
Mate, they are the best subtitles I've seen since I saw a movie on SBS about 20 years ago. Like, how good is a fire up and a fire up that comes with subtitles, Jess?
But that was epic. That was the biggest monologue of all time.
Watch what he did. So then he gets Nemechek. So if he's having a bad day, sorry, I'll go back. Kyle Busch was having a great day. Then he got caught with Carsten Hosseba, right? So all that drama unfolded. Then he fires Nemechek in the fence at the end. So it was on. So watch this. This is a dead set. This is a fencing. Bang, straight in the fence. And then the wit that we haven't shown you is Ryan Preece. He got $50,000 fine at the end. 50 grand. They have some ripping shunts in this. But that's Kyle Busch at his best.
Well, it's carried over too onto social media, so I think they've been giving it to each other all this week. So you want rivalry?
Yeah, good.
There it is.
Is there an archive of Mark Scaife radio messages? Because I reckon back in the day you would have outdone that by about 10.
That wasn't good.
Yeah, there's a whole wing of the National Film and Sound Archive in Canberra that's got it.
Well, we do have a couple of those blokes still in the Supercars paddock, and they do get together and just rock back and forth like the Mark Scaife Recovery Club. It's really good. All right, time for a quick break here on Motor Racing 360. Coming up next, it is Tickford's Cameron Waters. He joins us right after the break.
Location. Tasmania on Saturday belongs to Cam Waters in the Monster Energy Ford Mustang by a chunk. It's race victory number 3 for him in 2024. Nice work for Cam Waters.
Thanks for watching Motor Racing 360, brought to you by Repco. Of course, we are counting down to the next round of the Supercars Championship, so it's great to welcome to the show from Tickford Racing, Cameron Waters, who got the job done in Tasmania in 2024. Hey, Cam, it's great to have you on the show. I don't know about you, but I am hanging out to go racing again off the back of what we saw in New Zealand. It was such an incredible round. So good to have back-to-back racing. It's been a bit of a roller coaster for you and the team so far this year. So 4 rounds in, how do you feel like you're placed at the moment?
Yeah, g'day. Awesome to be on the show. And yeah, you nailed it. It's been a roller coaster for the year for us. I guess our qual speed hasn't been good enough, but our race pace has been really good. So you know, we're definitely not happy where we are, but you know, still looking pretty good in the points. So you know, this break between New Zealand and Tassie is stretched on a little bit too long. I really want to get back racing. Hey
Cam, Mark Scaife. I know that you analyse the performances really closely, and you've been, in terms of your race pace, looks like it's pretty strong. But the qualifying performance and the way that Payne and Kostecki and maybe Feeney and Brown have been running, have you got an idea where the deficiency of the car is in qualifying versus those guys at the pointy end?
Yeah, there's definitely things that we're ticking off the list, and we're going to work it out eventually. But yeah, in quality, we just don't have the grip as our car's just not producing the grip as it should. Where we get into the race room, it's quite good. We're still a little bit off, but we're a lot closer. So yeah, we will work it out. We're a good team. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but yeah, we'll get there.
Cam, it sounds like there's a bit of frustration building there, but if there's a place you can turn it around, it is Tasmania. That's been a great spot for the team over the years.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're that frustrated. Obviously, we want to be faster and whatnot, but we're all working super hard to turn that around, and we've had some success at Tassie before. And for me, it's kind of coming into all the tracks I really love, so I'm ready to pluck a gear and hopefully we can get some results.
Cam, Paul Murray here. Firstly, compliments on the facial hair. It makes every bloke look $1 million better. Appreciate that you're following the form. But also, let's talk here about that hairpin in Tassie. Is it one of those ones where, obviously, it remains a danger, but its danger changes over the race from being so early in lap 1 to don't stuff it up on the last lap when you feel like you're about to win? How do you mentally prepare for that incredible turn?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool corner, to be honest. It's pretty treacherous at the start of the race, trying to not get damage. It's obviously concertinas into there, and you can get a fair bit of diffuser damage or front bar damage, so you try not to do that. But it's a great passing spot, and it's really easy to lock rears and run wide there as well. So through the race, you really have to manage that corner. But yeah, I love going to Tassie. It always provides really good racing, and it's super close in qualies. So hopefully we're up the right end of it this year and we can be up the front.
Cam, Tickford Racing had a taste of what it was like to be back in position 1 in the pit lane, leading the team's championship. You've relinquished that at the moment. Tell me how motivating that was for the team and how much of a priority it is for you guys to put yourselves in that position to be able to fight with those front runners.
Yeah, it was awesome to be leading the team's championship for a few rounds. Obviously went to New Zealand, we weren't that strong, and we've obviously dropped a few positions, but there's not a lot of points in it, so we just need to kind of get our cars back to where they need to be and be a little bit more quicker, and you know, that'll sort itself out. But you know, the championship being with the finals, it's wide open. You just have to be strong at the end of the year. So I'd rather be not strong now and still be in the mix and be strong at the end of the year.
Hey Cam, tell us about the car in the background over your shoulder, mate.
Yeah, I bought a Cobra kit car from Queensland, so a bit of fun on the side when I've got some spare time. So at the moment I don't have a lot of spare time, but it'll get finished one day.
Yeah, not a lot of spare time. You've got a bit on your hands at the moment with your beautiful family. Cam, we really appreciate you giving us some time here on Motor Racing 360 to catch up. We'll see you down in Tassie.
Cool. Thanks, guys. See you in Tassie.
All right, time for a quick break here on the show. There's still plenty more to come when we come back. Welcome back. It's hard to go past Kimi Antonelli winning 3 in a row. He claims our quality performance of the week, brought to you by CRC 556. How many wins in a row can Kimi Antonelli take?
Ooh,
Are we prepared to place our bets, gentlemen?
Well, I've already got him in the Senna Schumacher bundle, so that's pretty elite. That'll be a struggle to win 4 or 5, but to win 3 in a row, absolutely superstar stuff.
Yeah, well, how can you not bet the house on him when it comes to Canada? But then again, last week I said that Kim Kardashian would turn up at Miami, so...
She had a hotter date at the Met Gala in New York.
Correct. I mean, again, and I was saying one of the things I was particularly pumped up about with Miami was the grid walk. Well, it did not disappoint. Jimmy Fallon, Tonight Show host in the United States, with the great Martin Brundle, and one of them was hungry for microphone.
What do you need? Can I get anything for you? Are you
Well, I need some funny lines. I need everything. Cup of British tea.
What do you want to... What do we do here? Come on, you're the best. Sorry,
You can keep that if you like.
Yes, that'll get you millions of dollars as an entertainer in the United States. God love him.
Jimmy Fallon loves Martin Brundle.
Yeah.
You'd look good in Martin's shirt. I can talk to him if you like and see if you can borrow it.
I'll be right, thank you.
Oh, what about that? He was full Versace. I don't know what he was. He was Miami.
Do you know what I love about it, though? Martin Brundle was a bigger superstar than all those blokes on the grid. They all loved him. I think Colin Farrell was there.
Yep.
Martin Brundle, I can't believe you're talking to me. And he's going, oh, yeah, and sorry, I've got to go. I've got to talk to drivers. It was hilarious.
I loved it.
Some of his best. All right, gents, that is the show this week. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thanks to you at home for joining us. We'll see you next week for more Motor Racing 360.